Hey everyone and welcome back. Is Ducati losing its identity? What triggered me to ask this question, as you might imagine, is the announcement of a new V2 engine for 2025 without Desmodromics. But this is only the latest in a series of changes that, in my opinion, really alters the character of Ducati performance motorcycles. As you know, most Ducatis nowadays have a monocoque and they no longer have a trellis frame, at least performance Ducatis if you want to call it that. This began with the 1199 Panigale very famously and a bit controversially also back then. Later on, they introduced the V4, the Desmo, so a 4-cylinder engine instead of the traditional L twin. And this year we had the announcement of the conventional swing arm instead of a single-sided swing arm, and eventually also of the traditional valve springs being used in the V2 engine instead of desmodromic valve actuation. Is Ducati losing its identity because of these changes? I'd say if you look at them individually, no, because Ducati has always been evolving and success kind of has proven them right. For example, the introduction of the V4 for MotoGP back in the day, some years ago, obviously I think was the right step because I cannot imagine the L-twin would have been competitive in that environment. So it worked. And if you go further back, they, for example, switched away from bevel gears to timing belts, which was also very controversial back then, or a longer time ago. And this kind of evolution obviously is necessary if you want to be successful. So with all the changes I've mentioned, there have always been good reasons. Better performance, lower weight, or for example, in the case of the swing arm, more flexibility. However, there's a bigger issue here, because if you put all of these changes together, they create a motorcycle that is not quite like the Ducatis of the 90s or early 2000s anymore, which basically made the brand what it is today. So maybe in 2025, if you're a Ducatista or you're maybe aspiring to become one, why would you buy a Ducati? Would you buy it for its unique characteristics? Apparently not, because it doesn't have them anymore. Because it has a 4-cylinder engine that has no trellis frame, no desmodromics, no single-sided swing arm. Would you buy it for the design? Well, honestly, I don't really think any of the 2025 performance models looks better or even as good as the 2024 models. In particular, the V4 Panigale. V2 Panigale looks quite a lot better without the winglets, but still not as good as the predecessor in my opinion. The V2 Street Fighter, I don't like that at all, to be honest. The only one that might really be cool the way it is for 2025 is the V4 Street Fighter, which was the last of those announced. So you pay quite a bit more for Ducati, as you know. Why do you pay it, or what do you pay for? The thing you're going to get out of this is a few tenths more on the racetrack. But is that really worth it? And can you actually exploit that? And we have to remember, Ducati became so successful in the 90s with the 916, not because they did what everybody else was doing, just a little bit better. They became so successful because they were different. The Italian David against the Japanese Goliaths, the L-twin against the inline fours, single-sider against conventional swing arm. I know Honda had a single-sider sometimes. Desmodromics against traditional valve springs, etc. And then also they kept on winning. But it was a decidedly different concept, and that made the Ducati so attractive, including the looks, of course. Another point, if you think of the 1199 Panigale, which deviated from the traditional formula mostly in terms of the frame, because it still had a single-sided swing arm, it still had fantastic looks in my opinion, and obviously still had Desmodromics and a very, very crazy 200 horsepower engine. That 1199 sold like hotcakes, even though it never won the World Superbike Championship. You know all the struggling of Chas Davies and Mark Melandri and others against Jonathan Rea, coming in second and third several times. And still it sold really well. So they didn't get the last few tenths of performance. They were not that little bit better, which they are maybe right now, in MotoGP and they still sold the bike. So in my opinion, if you put all of this together, I wonder if this idea of straying so far from what they made great just to achieve that little bit more performance might not be the right idea. At least that's what I think. Tell me what you think in the comments below. If you like this video, leave a like. If you want to see more, hit the subscribe button. Donnie Desmo out.